just wanted to give you an update from here in Alaska. Everything's going great. After a slow start, we got a beautiful bear with Jerry Monk last night. Weather forecast is supposed to hold for the next couple of days, so we relocated to another camp. We flew in Danny MacArthur today, and once again, if the sun stays out, it's only going to be a matter of time before we get another bear. I'll be in touch and get you another update soon. Take care.
Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Steiner Optics, CVA and Bergara Custom Barrels and Rifles, UDAP Bear Pepper Spray, Corbon Ammunition, Marathon Seat Covers, and Burris Optics and the family of Eliminator Laser Scopes. This episode has been brought to you in part by the new DeLorme InReach. Stay safe, stay in touch, and stay in reach.
Last week, my good friend and client, Jerry Monk, shot a beautiful grizzly bear way up in the high mountains of the Alaska Range. But now, it's Danny MacArthur's turn. But before we return to the action, let's take a minute and get to know Danny MacArthur.
Danny MacArthur is from Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. He and his wife Shelley are third-generation farmers on his family's land. They have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and hunting is a family tradition. Their home is filled with trophy memories of past hunting seasons. Lorne MacArthur, Danny's father, is an accomplished sheep hunter, having taken 2 Dall rams, a stone sheep, and a staggering 8 Rocky Mountain bighorns in his home province of Alberta. Lorne has been a taxidermist for over 60 years and handles the preservation of the family trophies. One look at the MacArthur family tree and you know you're dealing with serious hunters.
When I reviewed Danny's resume and application for the Alaska Adventure Series, a few things stood out to me. First and foremost, he had a lot of mule deer and elk, whitetail, a lot of hunting experience that I would find fairly common with anybody who lived in Western Alberta. But that isn't what stood out to me. His experience on snowmobiles and snowshoes and living in a very cold environment was something that I knew would be very key, especially in the springtime in Alaska when it's not uncommon to have temperatures well below zero. Obviously, we're going to be walking on snowshoes, and there was a possibility that we'd spend a lot of time on snowmobiles. So I knew that experience would pay off, but the biggest thing that stood out on his resume was his experience hunting Rocky Mountain bighorns in the Rocky Mountains of Alberta. Because if you can get Rocky Mountain bighorns in Alberta, you can get grizzlies in the Alaska Range.
Danny lost the coin toss on the arrival day, and Jerry elected to go first. So Danny was back at base camp killing time, cutting firewood, waiting for his turn. And with temperatures warming up, it didn't take long. And when word of Jerry's success reached base camp, they loaded up the Super Cub and flew him into Spike Camp.
After a short shooting session at base camp, Danny decided that he wanted to hunt with my Bergara custom rifle that was chambered in 300 Winchester Magnum. Now I had topped this gun with the Burris Eliminator laser scope, and I had it loaded with 180 grain Corbon TDPX ammunition. This gun, scope, and bullet combination will dispel any myths that you need a much larger caliber to hunt grizzlies in Alaska. Well, the sun's come out today. The wind is laying down. We're not seeing any more bear activity here in this particular valley yet, so the guys are going to get in the airplanes, fly around, try and recon some more bears. If they find them, we might have to pack up camp and relocate a distance, but we're going to go where we have to get on the Grizz. So, we're going to get Danny a bear.
After less than an hour in the air, the Super Cubs returned with great news. They'd located several bear dens on a mountainside only 20 minutes away. The crews break down camp in record time and fly down to set up Spike Camp on the backside of the mountain.
I use the new Elite 5 Lights Out trail cameras. The invisible infrared technology has an invisible flash up to 60 feet and features the new FlexTime Plus time-lapse technology, redo anti-blur technology, shoots wide-angle photos or video with 1 second rapid trigger speed, plus a whole lot more. Wild Game Innovations Elite 5 Lights Out. The world of trail cameras will never be the same.
When we come back from this short commercial break, Danny's adventure begins.
Follow Steve's Outdoor Adventures on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with all the latest events and get live updates from the field. Once we arrived at the new camp location, we actually had a lot of work to do. We were going to be camping on top of 7 feet of snow, so we needed to dig down and create areas to set up the tents so that the wind couldn't get underneath and blow them away. Once we got the tent set up, we unpacked and got settled in. By law, you can't fly and hunt the same day, so we went ahead and took that opportunity to get another plane load of supplies in, and we relaxed and enjoyed yet another spectacular Alaskan sunset. It's a good thing we had time to relax and rest up the night before, because while the pilots told us that it was just a little bit of a hike up and over the other side of the mountain to find the bear dens, they failed to tell us that it was actually about a 1,200-foot ascent up a very steep slope, and that we would have to go off the other side about halfway just to get into position to glass. Normally this wouldn't be a big deal, but on top of a lot of snow and wearing snowshoes, it was a workout.
The next morning, the hunters awoke to perfect weather. Warm sun on the snow means the bears would be out of their dens. The hunters quickly suited up and started the ascent up the mountain.
Once we got up to the top of the mountain, the view was spectacular. In our other camp, you really couldn't get to the top of anything, but here you could, and you could see for miles, and the mountains, they seemed endless.
After climbing to the top of the mountain, Jeremy took the crew down the opposite side of the mountain to a spot where they could set up and start glassing a large area.
Once we got to the top, Jeremy decided that we were going to need to drop off the other side about halfway down a ridge so that we could get to a vantage point where we could glass back up the mountain and look for the bear dens.
We are on the back side of the mountain from where bear camp's set up. And there's 5 dens over here, so we're trying to locate them. And we're gonna have to drop to the bottom and glass back. Not quite as easy to find as they look like.
We just came over the top of the mountain that's behind our camp, worked our way down into here. We're on kind of a little finger looking up at a big mountainside in front of us where they found 5 dens yesterday from the air. We haven't found a den yet. We're going to start glassing low camps, a little different perspective from the ground. Somewhere right there, there's a lot of bears out in front of us. And as soon as they come out to sun themselves or walk around, we're going to be on the spot.
After an hour of intense glassing, Jeremy spots a bear.
Jeremy actually spotted the bear first. I thought it was just a patch of dirt on the hillside. But no, I was totally wrong. When this bear rolled over and put his paw in the air, Jeremy nailed him, had him cold. We got out the spotting scope and took a closer look.
We've got a bear spotted. just off the den. It's really hard to see from here. In fact, all of us have been staring at it for about the last hour. And until it got up and moved around, Jeremy wasn't able to pick it out. Once he saw it move, we put the spot and scope on it. We knew right away it was a good bear. We've gotten a couple of different approaches. We could take a really long, steep climb up over the top and get above it, but there's no telling what it's going to take to get up there. We've decided on a more direct approach across the face of the mountain. We got to work our way around some really thick willow patches, but it's really doable, and God willing, we'll be in rifle range in a couple hours.
Well, this was going to be a straightforward stalk. Up the mountain, down the chute, and then hopefully within range of the bear. Dan and I had talked previously about ways to improve capturing these hunts because we had, first go around with Jerry Monk and his hunt. So what we decided was I was going to stick tight on Danny MacArthur and film the action as close as I could. Dan was going to go over the shoulder with the big camera, and we were basically doing our best to create all the angles and the best video that we could to capture, this incredible experience as it was unfolding.
The bear was laying outside the den sunning himself. It was going to be a very straightforward stalk. All we had to do was stay out of sight, keep the ever-growing wind in our favor, and then find a good spot to take a shot from. Fortunately for us, Jeremy had a plan to accomplish all of that.
When we come back from commercial break, the stalk continues. This segment is sponsored by Lights Out Trail Camera by Wild Game Innovations. The Sportsman's Guide, the largest supply of name brand hunting gear at closeout prices.
This bear was actually in the perfect location for a stalk, and the sunny weather meant that he was going to stay outside the den for a long time. All we had to do was get within rifle range. Now, it's not easy getting a hunter, a guide, 2 camera guys, and a TV show host across a semi-open hillside without being spotted, but we did it. And toward the end, I started to hang back about 50 yards, and I got to enjoy the show and let everybody else do their job.
After an hour of slowly moving up and across the mountain and around and through dense willows, Jeremy has the crew in position below a tree he'd spotted as a likely ambush site. Closed captioning for Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Kershaw Knives.
Take the pledge to be a responsible gun owner. I did.
Danny was as cool as could be. While you could tell he was excited, he even gave us the thumbs up right before we took the shot.
The first shot went through the chest cavity and the vitals, but we couldn't even tell that bear had been hit. That's how tough these grizzlies are. But the second shot broke both front shoulders and sent him cartwheeling down the mountain. True testament to the fact that the 300 Winchester Magnum is more than enough gun for hunting grizzlies in Alaska. It's all about quality bullets, perfect shot placement, and it doesn't hurt that Danny MacArthur can shoot.
and roll.
How about it?
Congratulations, man. Out of sight. Out of sight, man. Woo! What a stalk.
You want to go down and look at your bear?
I think we do.
We knew the bears were on this side, over the top of the mountain, so we didn't know exactly where they were. So we hiked up over top and found a good spot to glass and sat down and glassed for a little while and finally spotted this guy by his den. And we were, as soon as we had a plan, it didn't take us long to get going, and there wasn't much fooling around. It was time to go. It's a dream come true, and I'm glad I came, and I'm glad, I'm thankful for Steve's Outdoor Adventures for getting me here. Oh, it's been great, great adventure. Alaska's an amazing place, lots to see. It's quite the country, and Jeremy's been great, and Steve, it's been a good trip.
Can you pressure wash the inside of your truck out? Probably not. Not unless you have Marathon seat covers.
Go to the Outdoor Channel website and enter to win a set of Marathon seat covers, a proud sponsor of Steve's Outdoor Adventures. When we come back from a short commercial break, Danny flies back to town, and Steve and the crew continue the hunt as weather turns cold and the snow starts to fly. Wheeler Engineering Delta Series, the most comprehensive line of AR tools available. Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Steiner Optics, CVA, Bergara Custom Barrels and Rifles, UDAP Air Pepper Spray, Kershaw Knives, Corbon Ammunition, Marathon Seat Covers, the new DeLorme InReach, and Burris Optics and the family of Eliminator Laser Scopes.
If you'd like to book this hunt for yourself, give my office a call. The toll-free number and website address are listed at the bottom of the screen. And I'm always available to take your calls and answer your questions and personally help you book the hunting or fishing trip of a lifetime.
I'd really like to thank Steve and Steve's Outdoor Adventures for making this happen for me, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and he made it everything it was supposed to be, and it was very, very helpful and informative, and I definitely would like to go on a hunt with Steve again.
After Danny got his bear and everybody was back to camp, I got on my DeLorme InReach and scheduled an airplane to come pick him up and resupply us, because it was time for me to get my hunt back on. And I had a grizzly bear tag burning a hole in my pocket.
When the plane arrived to get Danny, they carried more than supplies. They had some bad news. Cold weather was moving back in. There was a storm coming to the Alaska Range. The beautiful sunny skies were going away, and lots of snow was forecast. The planes returned to Anchorage, and there would be no aerial scouting or chance to relocate the camp. Steve's odds for success were slipping away.
I should have got out right there and then. I should have got on the phone and called in more airplanes and got my crew and I out of there. But I've always been pretty stubborn, and I've always been a risk taker, and I thought, if I've got one more day of good weather, I could get it done. I was wrong.
Well, we stayed out here about as long as we could stand. We've got no visibility in the valley. There's no bears coming out. It snowed probably an inch since we've been sitting here. I'm gonna hike about a half mile back to camp, see what tomorrow holds, but tomorrow's our last day to hunt.
The snow really started coming down during our hike back to camp. In fact, we were down to near zero visibility. and then we were weathered into our tents for the next 2 days. Each time I would get a message back on my DeLorme inReach that would tell me that the weather was continually going to be bad. But then we got a forecast for a weather opening on May 4th. I got on the phone, I called Joe Schuster, and I asked him to fly that de Havilland Beaver in and get us all out in one load. That was probably one of the most heartbreaking calls I've ever had to make.
Yeah, we've had enough. Come on in, pick us up. All right, thanks.
Because I'm not much of a quitter, when we got back to town, I stored all of my gear at the Millennium Hotel in Anchorage. I booked my plane tickets to come back in June and hunt the warm, sunny river bottoms directly below where we'd been hunting in April. The idea would be that the bears would have moved out of the high country and into the river bottoms by then. But that's a story for next week's show. And remember, if you'd like to book your own guided hunting or fishing trip to Alaska, give my office a call. I will personally take your calls, answer your questions, and help you book the hunting or fishing trip of a lifetime. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week's program. But please, remember to join us again next week for another exciting episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures.
As Steve flew out of the snow-covered Alaskan wilderness, he was determined to get back to Alaska, and a month later he was. But that is a story for next week. Please join us as Steve and his crew return to Alaska on Steve's Outdoor Adventures.